Since the beginning of time, Aboriginal people have lived on the land now known as Australia.
On 22nd of August 1770, the first fleets of Captain James Cook invaded the lands of the Kurrawarra people on Badalug, otherwise known as Possession Island.
8 years later, on 26th of January 1778, Captain Arthur Phillip invaded the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation at Sydney Cove and raised the Union Jack to signal the beginning of a colony.
For us and for me, that was the first day of apartheid in Australia.
On the 30th anniversary of the invasion in 1818, Governor Macquarie first acknowledged the 26th of January as an official public holiday.
In 1838, the 26th of January was first proclaimed as an annual public holiday to mark the 30th Jubilee of the British occupation of New South Wales.
100 years later, on 26th of January 1938, Aboriginal leaders gathered on Possession Island to hold the first day of mourning, to protest their mistreatment by white Australians and to seek full citizen rights. These protests continued for many, many years.
It was only in 1994 that the holding of citizenship ceremonies on the 26th of January began, off the back of bicentennial celebrations in 1988. This is when Australia Day began to cement its popularity on the Australian calendar.
We even forget that up until 1984, we were still considered British subjects, and we were singing God Save the Queen as our national anthem. 1984.
The nationalism that Australia celebrates on Australia Day is a relatively new concept. It's barely 2 decades old. Compare that to 6,000 decades of Aboriginal history.
That's why it really shouldn't be that hard to change the date of what is known as Australia Day.
We're not saying never celebrate Australia Day when we ask you to change the date. We're asking just for some acknowledgement that the 26th of January is not the right date to celebrate. It's definitely not the right date for Aboriginal people, and it's definitely not the right date for non-Aboriginal people.
The 26th of January is the day that our country was invaded.
It's a day of mourning for us, when life became about survival for our mob.
We don't celebrate the start of World War I. We commemorate the ending of the war on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And even then we do that in a respectful way. We reflect on the lives lost. We remember them.
We're asking for a similar level of solemnity and respect for our people on the 26th of January.
We're just asking to change the date of Australia Day, to move its name and celebration away from the 26th of January so that we can celebrate with you.
This change would be out of respect for the hundreds of thousands of Aboriginal lives that have been lost since 1788.
We're asking to change the date out of respect for those of us that were stolen and those whose family members were stolen, to mourn the impact that apartheid had on our cultures and to mourn the loss of so many of our people.
We don't want to steal your barbecue day away from you. We love a barbie too.
It's not as if I don't want to celebrate Australia as a whole. It's just I don't want to see fireworks popping around the land on the day that we mourn the loss of our people.
We ask all Australians to reflect on what we've been through, what the 26th of January in 1788 meant for our mob, and to understand why we're asking to change the date.
Celebrate Australia Day by all means, so please change the date so we can all celebrate and join in with you.
Change the date, please.
Change the date.
Change the date!
Change the date.
Change the date.
I love that.